Welcome to this brief tutorial on the Old Man and the Sea creative project. You can download this creative project either linked to the weekly work schedule or from the doc sharing area. Once you download and open the assignment, you will see it looks similar to what's on the screen in front of you. The first step you will take is to ensure that you carefully read the directions. Remember, your primary goal for this assignment is to show your understanding and knowledge of the characters, symbols, and themes that appear in The Old Man and the Sea. Again, the purpose of your project is to demonstrate your understanding of the primary or main character, Santiago, and how Hemingway develops this character throughout the novel. You will show your understanding of symbolism and theme based on the characteristics presented in the novel and how these characteristics connect and correlate with objects and events in the world around you. So in essence, your goal for this project is to show how the characteristics and themes in The Old Man and the Sea are connected to media, images, and even songs all around you. There are several steps of preparation you will take in order to successfully complete this assignment. First, make sure you have read all information presented in the online lessons. Next, make sure that you've downloaded this assignment as well as the reading guide and have perused through that. Make sure you've watched any recordings, including the one linked to the weekly work schedule, and also make sure you've read The Old Man and the Sea in its entirety. You won't be successful on this project unless you've thoroughly read all of the online lessons and the novel itself. In the online lessons, several of them will focus on these three key aspects: theme, symbolism, and characterization. So make sure you pay special attention to those three areas in the online lessons. Once you've completed these tasks, you'll be ready to begin working on your Old Man and the Sea creative project. As with many writing assignments, you'll want to start with some brainstorming. To start this project, review the novel and the resources mentioned above, and start to identify some of the most important characteristics that define Santiago, our main character. Feel free to free write at this point, brainstorm in any way that works for you. I've given you an example on the assignment sheet here of brainstorming, but again, whatever way works for you. Simply make sure that you write down several characteristics that come to mind when you think of the character Santiago. Once you've completed your brainstorming, your next step is going to pick the top 4 characteristics you would like to discuss in your assignment. These 4 characteristics, again, will deal with and specifically relate to only the character of Santiago. Once you've selected the 4 characteristics you will focus on that deal with Santiago, you will begin to relate these characteristics to the world around you. Now that you've selected your 4 characteristics that best describe Santiago, it's time to show your understanding of symbolism and how these characteristics connect and correlate with objects and events in the world around you. You will select those 4 characteristics and then select a means of conveying the information or connecting these characteristics to different pieces of media. So you will take one characteristic, and for that one characteristic, you will find one video clip that you believe really symbolizes or relates to the character trait you've selected. This video clip can come from a variety of sources, including movies, commercials, TV shows, YouTubes, whatever comes to mind that you think also embodies the same characteristic you see in Santiago. You will do the same thing. You will select one of your 4 characteristic traits, and you will select a song that you feel also really embodies that characteristic. You will be required to include the lyrics for the song, and if you would also like to include a YouTube of the song being performed, you're welcome to do that as well. Next, you will select one object or picture that you feel symbolizes the next characteristic you've chosen. And then finally, you'll select one quote that you feel embodies your final characteristic. I want to be clear. You are only required to select 4 characteristics. You do not have to have a characteristic for each type of media. Again, you're only required to have 4 characteristics, and you will select the type of media that best fits that characteristic. After you've selected the media, then will be the step to explain yourself. You will write a clear paragraph for each of the 4 characteristics and each of the 4 pieces of media. So this means you will have 4 characteristics, 4 different types of media, and 4 different solid paragraphs that you will write. In each paragraph, you will explain why you chose that particular item, whether it be the song, the video, the picture, or the quote. You will explain what the item means or symbolizes. You will reveal how the item relates to the character trait you selected, and then you will include evidence from the book to support your connections. As with all of your paragraph writing in this class, the expectation is that your paragraph will have a clear topic sentence, supporting sentences, and closing sentences. You will also be required to write in third person, which means you need to avoid any use of I, me, we, us, or you. Once you have all of your information, you will need to bring it all together. You can choose 2 ways to present your information, either in a Word document or in a Prezi, whichever you feel will be the easiest for you to use and manipulate. If you're not comfortable with Prezi, simply use a Word document and link your videos and pictures on the Word document. I'll show you an example of this in just a minute. If you're comfortable with Prezi, feel free to use that. However, make sure that you're confident in copying and pasting your Prezi link into the Dropbox so that I can easily access it. Remember, your final project, what this means is that your final project should contain 4 character traits, 4 different pieces of media that you believe symbolize these traits, and then 4 paragraphs that explain the connection between the character trait and the piece of media. I will be posting a student example in the doc sharing area if you need to see that. Let's go ahead and take a minute and look at a student example in which they used Word to complete their project. Notice they, at the top, listed their 4 characteristic traits. This makes it easy for me to see which one they will be focusing on in each paragraph. Notice the very first paragraph. They introduce their piece of media in a solid topic sentence. In this case, they've selected to identify a brief video from a longer movie, Facing the Giants. Notice in here they make the connection between Santiago's strength and the strength that they see in this video clip. They give both quotes from The Old Man and the Sea, along with references to the piece of media they selected. And then they end with a solid closing sentence. This is a nice, healthy length of a paragraph. They've included the link to the video so that I can watch that as well. And then they thoroughly explain the connection between. That's their first paragraph. That's their first piece of media. Next, you'll see that they included the link to the song they selected, as well as including the lyrics. Then they wrote a solid paragraph introducing the piece of media, in this case the song Radioactive. They also included portions of the song in their support, as well as, you can see down here, quotes from the text, and made clear connections between the piece of media and the characteristic they chose. Next one, you will see an example of a quote, and then how they made the connection between the quote and Santiago's characteristic. And then finally, they included a picture and explained the connection of this picture to their characteristic and to the character of Santiago. Hopefully, now that you've seen an example, as well as Having gone through the directions completely, you will feel confident in completing the Old Man in the Sea creative project. Again, remember this project is posted in Doc Sharing, as well as linked to the weekly work schedule. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me a K-mail. Also, make sure that you download the student example posted in Doc Sharing. That is always helpful to look over. I'm excited to see how your final project turns out. Have a great rest of the week.